Jordan Zimmerman.
What do you think? It's just been great.
Yeah, would you pick him over Strasburg? Strasburg's got a forearm thingy. Did you see he was? He heard it simulating throwing.
What's he doing simulating throws?
I don't know, but they're going to cut that out now.
Good for them.
He's going to actually throw instead of simulating throwing. Which I think you could hurt yourself if you try to throw a ball hard when you don't have one.
Yeah, especially with no resistance to go with it.
So I don't know what that was about.
But. Zimmerman, look, he's not going to finish with a 1.5 again, like Buchholz. He's not going to finish with a 1.5 ERA or a .75 WHIP, and he's not going to go 30-5 to end the year. That's just. That doesn't happen.
I think he's one of those pitchers that are on a roll too. But even now, you're not going to get those huge strikeout numbers from him.
27 strikeouts.
Even if he has a great year.
27 strikeouts in 44 innings. In his last start, he actually struck out 8 in 8 innings. So he really boosted that total up, boosted that ratio. But he's not a strikeout pitcher. Basically, what you're looking at is an advanced version of Tim Hudson, or just Tim Hudson when he was in his prime. He's going to have a good whip. He's going to be close to a 1 whip, maybe a sub-1 whip. He's going to log a whole bunch of innings, which is really helpful towards those ratios. And his ERA is going to be fine. But when you're looking for strikeouts, it's just not going to be there. So that's what really prevents him from being a top 10 pitcher in my mind. He's going to be right around there, but he needs to keep that whip at like .93, .95, and the ERA close to 2 for that to happen. Because if not, he's going to get passed by guys with a more inflated ERA and whip, like even someone like Jeff Samardzija, because he strikes out 14 guys per 9 innings and crazy numbers like that. But
he can't get past 6 innings.
It doesn't matter. He's still piling up the strikeouts. In those 6 innings, he's getting 10 Ks.
Yeah.
That's more than Zimmerman's getting if he pitched 13 innings.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Zimmerman.
I would.
Not if you need a strikeout.
No, I would too, but I'm saying that in order for Samardzija not to pass him, he's going to need to keep his whip and ERA at this elite level.
Right. What's your opinion on Jason Grilli? I've got Jason Grilli.
And you never play him.
Yeah, he's been sitting on my bench because I had Papelbon and Chapman. Now, would you have started the season with Grilli in your lineup as opposed to one of them?
No, not opposed to those two guys.
So should I have switched him in for one of them in the meantime?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago when it seemed like Jason Grilli kept piling up saves. But I think this speaks to a larger point, whether it's Grilli or whoever it is. Tom Wilhelmsen's another guy. Sergio Romo's another guy. You just feast on these guys who have pretty secure jobs on teams that are sort of middling. It's not that just because your team wins a lot of games doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a lot of save opportunities.
No, sometimes if you have a kick-ass team, you win by 10 runs.
Exactly.
You're not going to get any saves.
But the Pirates rarely blow people out.
No.
So instead of spending all this money, like you have Chapman's the best closer, and you got to keep him for a very good price.
I'd rather have Kimbrel, to be honest.
Fair enough, but in a regular auction, I don't want to pay $22 for a closer. When I can get Jason Grilli for $2.
Right.
The only thing they do is get you saves. You're not relying on Jason Grilli for.
Well, Chapman gets you more than saves, but you get as many strikeouts as some starters.
Well, yeah, but those starters probably aren't on your fantasy team.
Well, he's going to be over 100 strikeouts, which is that makes a significant difference.
It does, but I mean, really, you're looking at I look at closers for saves only. I feel like I'm able to draft well enough with my starters that I don't need to rely on my relievers for saves. But either way, it speaks to the point where you could have 4 Jason Grillis, a Jason Grilli, a Tom Wilhelmsen, a Sergio Romo, and you go on the waiver wire, you pick up Jim Henderson. You could have all those 4 guys for half the cost of one elite closer, and it's just worth it. These are the guys that you want to target in drafts.
So would you keep Grilli right now, or is he somebody you would sell high?
I don't feel like closers have a whole lot of value. Now, I would sell on any closer just because saves are always coming to the league. New guys will always get opportunities. And that if you can get a bat for a closer or a starter for a closer, that's just a deal I would make always. Just because that position is far more valuable than this one.
All right, and we spoke a little bit about Wainwright. You had mentioned him. What do you think about Lance Lynn?
I like Lance Lynn, but I think we saw last year that in the second half he really, really went downhill. So he may actually be a nice sell high right now. But this is exactly what he did last year. He got off to the great start. He's always good for strikeouts. It's just how hittable does he become when he starts to wear down a little bit. And maybe last year taught him a lesson, and he's in better condition now. He's more accustomed to pitching in the major leagues. But, he's not going to be the 5-0. He's not going to go 35-0. He's going to run into some rough patches as we go along during the season. But I think there's no reason Lance Lynn can't be better than Clay Buchholz by the end of the year. I honestly believe that.
In the stock market, they have a term called saying sell in May and go away. If things tend to ramp in the beginning of the year, and then over the summer, nothing, and then at the end of the year, they get a boost again. So you think that his best We've already seen his best.
Yeah, look, 5-0, a whip of 1.1, which isn't great, and an ERA of 2.75, which is all numbers he could actually stay around if he wasn't Lance Lynn, is the problem. Right. So, you're probably looking...
You have to talk to his parents about that.
Yeah, that's more of something to do with...
It's personal.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
So you're looking at a 3.5 whip, but the strikeouts are always going to be there, which is great. That's the most projectable of all these stats. If you're a strikeout pitcher, you can basically bank on that from start to year, is how many strikeouts you're going to get.
Let's talk a little bit about Matt Cain and Roy Halladay,
yeah.
Who many people are kind of viewing in the same kind of package as the same type of thing is going on here. I don't particularly see it that way, but how do you view each one of them, or do you see them as in the same grouping right now? Obviously, they've both faltered.
No, I don't see them the same way at all. I think you're seeing Halladay as an aging pitcher. He's got a whole lot of miles on him, and he has to adjust to just the new sort of pitcher he is. Obviously, his command isn't where it once was, and he's tinkering with new ways to try to get guys out, and on a start-to-start basis, it's just not consistent. I think he's going to be fine. He's not going to be old-school Roy Halladay, but he's a top 30 pitcher. He's going to be a respectable starter. When you look at his stats at the end of the year, he'll probably be between a 3.7 and a 4 ERA. Good amount of strikeouts, pretty good whip. He'll be better than he has been. Now, Matt Cain, I don't necessarily know what's going on with Matt Cain. His fly ball to home run ratio is just spiked out of control. Him and Dan Herron are the two guys this year where that number is just off the charts. And that's just something that should regress back to the mean once he gets this figured out. Whatever it is. I know
wasn't Herron that way kind of last year too?
He was, and then he went on the DL, came back, and he was fine. So maybe he's actually hurt.
Maybe he needs to go on the DL?
Maybe he needs to go on the DL again. But the way with Matt Cain is just, he was a guy who never gave up home runs, and now he gives up more home runs than anyone else in the league. I find that a bit hard to believe. I think he's a nice buy low, because once he does get this figured out, he pitches in the right ballpark, in the right division, in the right league, that he's just going to be fine.
Yeah, I did a segment on him this week on Fantasy Baseball Today. I would encourage you all to look at it, on his two-seam fastball and exactly what's happening there and how and why that's getting hit.
It's a location problem.
He knows it too. He said it after the game. I think he'll be able to correct it. So I would be buying him. You may have to endure this a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was wild for a little bit while he tries to figure that out. But in terms of Roy Halladay, I just think what you've seen so far is what you're going to get. You're going to have games where he'll look like the old Roy Halladay, at least for 5 or 6 innings, and he'll shut people down, strike out, so on and so forth, and he may not be able to sustain it. And then you're going to have other games where he just
doesn't have it.
And he's going to get crushed. So to me, he's almost somebody that I might want to stream, because I do see him pitching well.
Yeah, he's a matchup play.
But I think his overall numbers, I think he's going to end up with an ERA over 5.
No, he's not going to end up with an ERA over 5.
Well, it's going to be tough to bring it down from where he is.
But like you said, we're just less than 20% through the season here. Well, there's a lot of time to adjust your stats.
He's had 6 starts,
and 2 of them been really good, 2 of them been really bad, and then 2 of them
really bad. He's gotten like 8 runs,
and 2 of them were in the middle.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Maybe it'll be somewhere in the middle.
We'll see what happens.
So in general, though, if you had to pick one to turn it around,
it's Matt Cain for sure. Okay. I'd be actively going out of my way to try to get Matt Cain.